we had more than 10 million at the end of the 6-month period on our balance sheet. I think analysts had expected us to have to spend a bit more, actually, in order to achieve what we've delivered. And, I think we are a beacon of restraint out there in the battery development industry.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by Ilika CEO Graham Purdy. Graham, very good to speak with you. You're out with your first half results today, and you've reported good progress with both your Stereax and your Goliath battery lines. So, positive start to the year.
Thank you, Stephen. Great to be back. Yes, it feels like we've got some exciting news for our investors. Lots achieved over the past year, but perhaps most importantly, lots to look forward to as well.
Well, let's chat about some of the things you have achieved. And most recently, we talked about Stereax. So, moving towards commercial production, you're expecting your first revenues from Stereax, in fact, this year.
Well, that's the exciting thing. That's really what our investors have all been waiting for. So, we've successfully entered into this licensing agreement with Cirtec Medical, transferred the basic equipment that Cirtec Medical need in order to commence production. That's all installed, fully commissioned now, and we're initiating the process qualification. So we're starting to run those initial batches of battery production, and then we'll test them, make sure they do what they say on the tin, and then they'll be dispatched through to our customer base who are eagerly waiting to integrate them into their products. So we should see the commencement of revenues in this calendar year.
All systems go for Stereax. Take us through some of the milestones for Goliath, because there were a number of those during the first half.
Yeah, they've been coming thick and fast, haven't they? So I guess the excitement started in the summer last year when we shipped our first set of prototypes, what we call our P1 prototypes, to customers, to automotive OEMs and tier one manufacturers for them to test the batteries, validate them, get familiar with the performance of our type of solid state battery. And then, of course, we followed that up with some fantastic safety data. I mean, I think we all enjoyed watching that video where we compare the fireworks that you get when you have a nail penetration test of a standard lithium-ion battery. We compared that to the very inert response that you get from a Goliath solid-state battery. So very compelling visual data that actually is just really the tip of an iceberg of information demonstrating the safety characteristics and other performance characteristics of the Goliath batteries. And then, of course, we announced that we had our D6 development milestone, as we call it, which is our first 10 amp hour battery, which is 5 times bigger than the P1 prototypes that we released in the summer. And we're expecting to convert that development point into a second batch of prototypes that we'll be releasing later on this year in the summer.
And Graham, of course, you ended the period with a cash position that was slightly better than market expectations. So you've achieved all this while keeping a tight hold on those purse strings.
Well, absolutely. We had more than 10 million at the end of the 6-month period on our balance sheet. I think analysts had expected us to have to spend a bit more, actually, in order to achieve what we've delivered. And, I think we are a beacon of restraint out there in the battery development industry, because actually we're able to make this great progress that we've been talking about with relatively limited cash reserves. And, I think that's a great signal that small teams can actually achieve great things.
So remind us what we can look forward to in the second half, Graham, including those new Goliath prototypes.
Well, yeah. So we've got on the Goliath side, as you mentioned, those prototypes, but actually that's just a milestone along the road to the release of our P2 minimum viable product prototypes, which actually will be the trigger probably for more intense interest in closer partnering for manufacturing agreements, licensing agreements, as we move into larger scale pouches, which are suitable for pack design for automotive. So that's P2 prototype, that MVP, is actually due at the end of this year, and the team's working very hard to achieve that fantastic outcome for the company. I think also stuff to look forward to on the Steriac side. There will be some news flow around how we're getting on with that process qualification, the final testing of the products that come off that combined cooperation between Ilika and Cirtec Medical. And then, of course, the release of those batteries to customers for their integration and the start of their product launch journeys as they move towards mass market commercialization.
Graham, I hope you'll keep us updated on any progress. Thank you very much for speaking with us today.
Thank you, Stephen. It's been a pleasure.
That's Ilika CEO Graham Purdy.